Hey everyone, I'm Zenith Priest, and welcome to my introduction for Downpour Drenches the World, where I will give you insight into the nature of this spirit and show you how to flood out the invaders by turn 5. Downpour is a high complexity defense spirit with ready access to control and utility. We start with a presence in the lower wetlands, but our placement range and access to movement ensures we won't have any trouble accessing the island. Our playstyle suggests that whichever strategy we adopt for this spirit, discerning the value of our powers and precise presence placement will be at the forefront of our considerations. As we move our presence around and drench the landscape, our sacred sites turn lands into wetlands for purposes of spirit actions and special rules. This is directly beneficial to us, which we'll see when we explore our kit, but other spirits and powers can also make use of our terrain transformations. Pour down power across the island generates benefits the more water we have access to. For every pair, we can either gain an energy or repeat a land targeting power by paying its cost. We can do this as much as 5 times with 10 water, turning any power into a potential deluge. Moving to growth options, a reclaim grants us a power gain and presence movement, an indicator of the importance of positioning presence. We can also place 2 presents, each up to 2 away, and also gain 2 water, feeding our special rule. In exchange, we'll need to discard 2 powers if we have them. If not, we can still choose this option, forfeiting our power card options for the turn. This can be a valid strategy, and I will be exploring it further in a future video. The final option lets us gain a power while placing a presence at range and gaining an energy to round out a more traditional build. Our presence tracks largely forgo typical advancement in favor of other benefits. The top track provides elements at every turn, with the only energy boost halfway through. The water that's provided can mitigate our lack of energy when we pour down power, but it's still something we'll need to be aware of lest we find ourselves lacking. The lower track gives us movement and more water before expanding our card plays, limiting our options to a single play on the first turn. Again, our special rule softens this somewhat, allowing the water to grant an extra effect. For this introduction, we'll begin with the middle option, opening up the lower track, then following up with the power gain and revealing our second card play before reclaiming the turn after. Turn 4 will complete the build using the middle option, adding movement and dipping into the top track for more water. Rain and Mud Suppress Conflict is our first innate power, allowing our presence to directly benefit our lands. With a higher threshold, we even reduce the health of anyone there. This will also reduce counterattack damage, so we may need to plan ahead when trying to clear lands. Water nourishes life's growth, adds energy, while also providing a way to mitigate blight, either by removing a presence to remove the blight, or by stopping it from being added altogether. This extra source of energy allows us to focus on repeating powers when we pour down power across the island. We begin our unique powers with Dark Skies Loose a Stinging Rain. Targeting a land near one of our wetlands, this is quite versatile, giving us the flexibility to stop builds, isolate key areas, and push Dahan into position. Foundations Sink into Mud is a more direct approach to handling invaders in our lands, destroying their buildings outright. At first, we'll only destroy a town or two, but targeting a wetland with enough resources to repeat powers, we can destroy any number of buildings in a single land. Gift of Abundance aids an ally, granting them a couple energy or the ability to repeat one of their power cards. And then we can add a destroy presence, either theirs or ours, to one of our wetlands. This pairs well with our second innate power, letting us remove a presence to remove a blight, then using this to put it back. Lastly, Unbearable Deluge adds fear and forces 2 Dahan out of our land while providing defense and isolating it if it's a wetland. As long as we have an adjacent presence and we can repeat the power, we can still put the Dahan back in place for a counterattack while maybe isolating another land or 2. And with that, let's get started on the demo game. Since this spirit doesn't require any spirit tokens, we'll be playing without expansions to simplify our decisions during play. Alright, let's begin. Turn 1. Regardless of the first Explorer, we're going to take the middle growth option, placing a presence in the new Explorer with Dahan, and 1 in the starting town. Discarding Dark Skies and Gift of Abundance, we'll play Foundations Sink into Mud. Next turn, we'll want to have presence in the new Explorer without Dahan, as well as an adjacent land with Dahan to destroy the town in the Ravage. So if we're already in position, we can use the extra placement or movement we just revealed to get a head start. Even if the starting town explored and will build a city, we'll be able to defend and clear it next turn. but if the city explores, let it blight. We'll come back to it later. On the slow phase, take out the 2 towns we're in position to destroy, using our special rule to grab the necessary energy. Turn 2. Grabbing a power is a natural continuation as it gives us a second power while unlocking the extra card play to use it. Our first consideration will not be water or effect, but cost. Since we are guaranteed only 1 use of pour down power and can easily discard non-water cards with our second growth option later on, we are at liberty to pick effects freely. However, as this build is energy light, 0 cost cards will open up our options later on. Ideally, we'd like some way to solve the upper explore before it builds, creating a pocket for the island and leaving us with less to worry about later. Without that, a way to destroy either town after the fact is a good alternative, whether with direct damage, defense, or Dahan movement. Cult of Bloodshed provides a way to destroy the lower jungle town, giving us the option to clear the upper jungle on the reclaim with another use of Unbearable Deluge if necessary. Its lack of water and higher cost aren't ideal, but it is an option. Cult of 10 also offers a solution by moving Dahan into place to clear the jungle next turn. Depending on what we pull on the reclaim, we may see one of the Ravages blight, but in trade we aren't necessarily locked in to specific card plays. It also has a higher cost, but at least it has water. Gnawing Rootbiters is free, and should be the power we gravitate to and consider first. Once the town builds, we can push the lower one into the neighboring wetlands. While this does leave us with an extra town to deal with later, the strategy I'm using for this build intends to take a turn to destroy all the buildings in that land anyway. Quicken the Earth's struggles will provide defense in either jungle, as long as we commit to put our presence in place. While this does cost 1, we don't need to play it this turn, giving us the same energy levels for later as if we had played a 0 cost power. While recording this game, I was too focused on the upper jungle and failed to consider the lower jungle or to frame these options within the context of the larger strategy of destroying all the buildings in Land 2. With that in mind, Gnawing Rootbiters becomes the stronger option, with Call to Bloodshed a solid runner-up. Instead, I chose Call to Tend, with the idea of pushing the Sand Dahan into Land 8 to take care of the town that way. For presence placement, we need presence in Land 2 to push the Dahan to clear the mountain town. Aside from that, look for opportunities to isolate one of the remaining Stage 1 explorers with Unbearable Deluge. Since our upper mountain is taken care of, we can move that presence into the wetlands. Most of the time, we'll play our remaining cards, but as mentioned with Quicken the Earth struggles, there are instances where we may not need to. When using Unbearable Deluge, be sure to use it in the Ravaging land first, with the second use pushing Dahan in place. This gives us our first fear card, Dahan Enheartened, letting us move a Dahan to or from a land with invaders. We need the A1 Dahan, and moving the A3 Dahan won't serve much purpose since we'll need them back in the jungles next turn. We were already planning to push the A7 Dahan into the jungles, leaving just the upper mountain to consider. Since we'll be left with an extra explorer either way, let's gather into the jungles, clearing the higher land instead. After the invaders take their turn and reveal their next explorations, we'll continue as planned before we proceed. Turn 3. With no cards in hand, we reclaim and grab another minor power. As we enter Stage 2 exploration, we're going to look for opportunities to deny builds while ramping up to Terra Level 2. Cult of Migrate provides heavy Dahan movement, but that's not quite what we're looking for. Lure of the Unknown is more our speed, stopping us sands from building, and 0 cost to boot. Hold Beneath the Hungry Earth is generally a solid power for Downpour, since we can make any land a wetland to get maximum value. Sap the Strength of Multitudes is a decent defense to supplement Unbearable Deluge, even without its fear or potential isolation, costing 0 and adding water. Other than Call to Migrate, the rest are interesting choices, and I think any of those lines will play out well. But in keeping with our general goals, I'm going to take Lure to keep the upper island pocketed. For presence movements, we'll need a presence in the lower jungle to keep it defended, and since we're letting the upper jungles go, let's dodge the fallout there. Our plan in place, the power choices are fairly straightforward. Lure to stop A7, and a double dose of Unbearable Deluge to protect and clear A3. when the jungle's ravaged, we'll earn our second fear card from destroying the towns, and with no slow powers, we'll continue on after they explore. Turn 4. This will be our big turn, aiming to clear the city and any other buildings that may have ended up there. To begin, we'll grab the middle option, placing presence in such a way to ensure that Land 2 is a wetland when the slow phase begins. Here is straightforward, since Land 2 is already a wetland and it won't be blighting, making our single presence there already sufficient. Next, look at what's ravaging. Since we won't have access to defense or to Han movement, we'll create a sacred site in the Blighted Sands, making use of rain and mud to hold the line. For discards, we can't get rid of foundations, as that's our way of clearing the buildings, and almost exclusively we'll need Gift of Abundance to have sufficient energy and repeats. And through process of elimination, we'll discard the other two. While not necessary this time, we do have a couple presence movements to consider for finalizing our position or setting up for next turn. Most of the time, we'll be gaining energy with our gift, and it starts to become apparent why the cost of our earlier powers is so important. After defending our sands, we'll reveal the next fear card. Belief Takes Root provides defense in all our lands, keeping the sands safe even without our help, and after building a jungle town, they explore one final time. For our turn, we get to clear the city as planned and have just enough energy to take out the sand town, since we'll be able to defend the jungles next turn. Note that playing one more one-cost power, we wouldn't have enough energy to clear everything. Turn 5. Once again we reclaim, and if the game were to continue on, we could gain a major power to start planning our hand to gain sufficient energy, since we're likely to have a minor power we don't mind forgetting. Since we have victory at hand, we can look at minors and take whatever looks fancy. Shadows seems appropriate for a mountain explorer, though with another water power, we would have 2 uses of pour down power. But that's just a thought exercise, as we're already clearing the final town. Some final thoughts for Downpour Drenches the World. This strategy still works with allies, though zero cost powers are even more valuable here, since you won't be able to rely on Gift of Abundance to give you an energy boost. Keep track of your wetlands, with some powers requiring or having augmented effects in wetlands. Losing them to Ravage or simply forgetting to move appropriately can add unnecessary challenges. Think of your presence placements and movements in terms of where you'll need to be next turn. Staying ahead in this way will help keep your options open later on. While there are situations where you can utilize rain and mud to offer some extra defense, this strategy is more concerned with effective counterattacks. Look for the card above to see how this innate power can really shine. Alright everyone, that's all I've got this time. Hope you gained some insight, and good luck in your next games.